Word is things are heating up even more in the courtroom in Missouri in the Sitzer Burnett case. And I'm sitting here reading a great article from RIS Media, and I'm looking at some of the things that have transpired and some of the things that were said over the last few days. And it's quite interesting to me, folks. A couple things that caught my eyes specifically. Mr. Ketchman, the plaintiff's attorney, decided to bring in a so-called expert, a Texas A&M professor who's an economist. And one of the statements that he made in the courtroom before our NAR attorney got to come out is, "It tells me something fishy is going on," said Shulman. "This is one of the clearest cases of price fixing and collusion I've ever seen. At the core is the mandatory compensation rule and the threat of steering that keeps it going." I mean, I don't know how they come up with this. The only thing I can assume and surmise is this Mr. Shulman is a professor in Texas. He's not in the business. He doesn't know how the business goes. He doesn't understand how unbelievably competitive this business is. He doesn't realize that in a given town, realtor commission rates are all over the place, and there's always people that are trying to undercut everyone and charge less, charge more, etc. So I want to point out that comment from him, but then I want to point out somewhat of a rebuttal that Ethan Glass had from NAR. Let's focus on the facts. You have not seen, now he's saying this to the gentleman, Mr. Shulman from Texas A&M, who I assume was on the stand. Let's focus on the facts. You have not seen a single document with the defendants discussing commissions with each other. You have not seen testimony showing the defendants discussing commissions. You have not seen any document showing any defendant discussing with other defendants a particular amount that a seller was going to pay a buyer's agent. I mean, you know what this sounds like? This sounds like these people, Mr. Ketchman especially, this guy, there's no doubt in my mind, he came out of the womb wanting to take down the real estate industry. I don't know why. Someone knows why. I don't. But this guy seems obsessed, and he seems to have a massive lack of understanding of our business. But these people are acting as if us realtors go to our state association events, our local association events, our national events, and we all get in a room, we all get together, and we go, hey, let's charge X, you charge Y, I'll charge Z, let's charge this, you hold your ground, I'll hold your ground. Folks, there is no such cooperation going on among realtors and among brokerages company to company. I've never heard of such a thing. One of the mentions I heard this week that Ketchman pointed out was apparently Gino Buffari somewhere along the line talked about how he recommended to his realtors, which by the way he's allowed to do, that, hey, go into your listing appointments with a pre-filled out commission amount. And Ketchman is acting like that's some sort of crime. And I'm saying to myself, why? When we go into restaurants, I just pulled up on my screens here the Capitol Grill in Del Frisco's, and I'm looking at menus at restaurants. They all have pricing. So what are we saying here? That because of the Sherman Act, restaurants can't have pricing anymore, because then someone that owns one restaurant or manages one could go into the other. Let's see their pricing. Let's match them. Let's beat it. What? You're telling me pricing and putting pricing out is a bad thing? Think about that. You go into a hardware store. Nuts are 10 cents, bolts are 15 cents. Now we're going to take pricing off the shelves? There's nothing wrong with a broker talking to realtors in their own company about what to charge or suggested amounts to charge. And as I mentioned in my first video, us brokers wish us that the realtors in our companies followed exactly what we say. They don't. It's just not how it works. They might follow some of it, and we as brokers are allowed to say it, but it's not as simplistic as they're acting. But even if it was, that's not bad. Okay, setting pricing within an organization, training folks on how to do business and get the pricing they want within the same organization is not necessarily a bad thing, okay? And the realtors still have the freedom to compete with one another within the organization. I see it here at my company, Lamacchia Realty, every day. We have realtors that charge more, charge less, they know about someone else, they want to beat them, they want to get the listing. It's natural progression that happens. Now, let's talk about pricing on the flip side. Let's think about car dealerships. We all know that when we go to the dealership, there's an MSRP price, there's a sticker price, and what do we all do? We negotiate. Negotiations are very common with buying cars. They're also common when negotiating with any type of service business. A landscaper coming to your house. We have someone that cleans the fish tank at our house. It's normal to talk to service providers about pricing or trying to get their pricing down when you're the consumer. There's nothing unfriendly or any collusion going on with the way that real estate is being done. These people that are making this up for a money grab, as I said in the first video, are completely and totally wrong. Negotiations happen all the time, every day. And let me keep going. There's also I was surprised by the amount of hearsay that's allowed into this case. I want to point this out. Ketchman he pointed out some comment that apparently a Michelle Figgs, a former analyst of KW, wrote in her notes during a meeting of top executives at KW years ago, and she wrote, "Gary strongly believes in collusion theory for why consumers are stable." And then it says something like, defendants sought unsuccessfully to exclude that testimony as hearsay due to the fact, so they were unsuccessful in getting that testimony out due to the fact that Figgs admitted she was not sure Gary actually said that or if someone else did. Okay, well, we all can try to make things up to bring into a courtroom, but folks, this is serious stuff here. If this case was to be successful, okay, I want to go over to the Wall Street Journal for a minute, and I want to, great article came out this week from Laura Cousteau and Nicole Friedman, two great Wall Street Journal reporters. There was a comment in here from Katie Johnson, okay, she's Chief Legal Officer at NAR, does a terrific job. What is at stake here is the future of buyer representation. Katie's completely right. Folks, 25 plus years ago, there was all kinds of noise being made from all different kinds of consumer advocates about how buyer agency was something that needed to be developed. Buyers deserve to have someone that would treat them right and watch out for them and to have a fiduciary duty to them. This blows that up. If this case is successful, this Ketchman person, if he is successful in his case in this local federal courtroom in Missouri, this could have implications on the whole business. Okay, buyer agency as a whole could be blowing up. Buyers will be running around with no representation. And I heard the other day, there's another thing that I heard that's not necessarily an article, that he said, we should be like Australia. Real estate fees are much cheaper in Australia, and buyer agents are for the affluent. Now, don't quote me on those words specifically, but that's what I heard. Those are some of the phrases that I heard he used. What? How is that consumer friendly? How is that friendly? To say that only those that can afford it can get it. Right now, buyers can get representation. That's a wonderful thing. Why would we want to take that away? So, just wanted to recap this for you at the end of the week. This week, there was a lot of plaintiff talk. Next week, the defendants are in the room. And some of these folks that run these companies, like the folks that I mentioned, are going to be in the room. That will make it a lot easier. One other point I want to make, and I say one, but it might end up being two. They talked about how they were unable to, they looked into non-MLS participant data and determined that they haven't been able to get a foothold. Okay, well, properties are being listed on MLS and syndicating out to many, many other websites, not just Zillow and Realtor.com, many websites, locally, nationally, etc. If someone is not getting those listings, that exposure, buyers are missing out on finding out about them, which, by the way, buyers do miss out on properties with some of those websites like Zillow, etc., when things don't syndicate correctly, etc. So MLS is providing a platform that everyone's getting a shot at the property. That's a great thing. Now I want to point out, here's my one more thing, right? And now it's two. In the Wall Street Journal article, they went and found someone who hired Rex Real Estate. Remember I mentioned Rex Real Estate the other day, the company that was wildly unsuccessful, along with Purple Bricks and many of these other companies who get into the business, right? They get in and we're going to discount, we're going to be everyone's savior. Then they get in and they start realizing it's quite expensive to sell a home. There's a lot of marketing that goes into it. From a brokerage perspective, you've got to pay the realtor. The realtors have their own expenses. Sometimes the realtor or the company handles the brochures, the postcards, the online marketing. I could go on and on. Food for broker open houses, whatever it may be. So this gentleman, John Anderson, and I'm not really knocking this guy like I am a bit to the others, but this is a consumer. He hires RIS Real Estate, probably thinking he's going to save money, and his home sells for less. Well, I have news for you, Mr. Anderson, and for all of you in the courtroom, especially Michael Ketchman. Top realtors who really know how to sell properties, who know how to market them correctly, who know how to negotiate correctly so that they can get the most money for their clients, they don't join discount brokerages like RIS Real Estate. They don't. Look at Redfin. Everyone's Redfin left NAR, Redfin left NAR. Folks, no top realtors with a large book of their own business. Remember, each realtor's in business of their own, right? They're like small business owners that are under a larger brokerage umbrella. Top realtors are not going to Redfin to sell homes. That's not how it works, because they know that those companies, they're not just discount brokerages, but they're limited service companies. They're not doing the ample amount of marketing. They're not doing things at an extremely high level on behalf of sellers. So this article and what happened to this seller, in most cases, in most industries, folks, you get what you pay for. If you're going to get surgery, do you want to have the surgeon that'll give you a discount and does the surgery 3 times a year? Or do you want to go with the surgeon that does it every day that charges more, right? Have a great weekend. See you next week. Stay tuned in to Crush It in Real Estate. Thank you.